We are live with the very knowledgeable Cherry Chan. And I said very knowledgeable when we sat down here, and you said you didn't really jump on that. I think you're a very knowledgeable person.
I don't think so.
I think you are, and you underestimate your knowledge because every time I have an accounting question, you know exactly the answer. And I'm just going to dive in. Before I dive into that, are your kids still taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or no?
Yeah, they just resumed it.
Oh, they did?
Apparently, they are getting their first stripe next week while we are in Orlando.
Don't talk to me about stripes. Stripes gives me flashbacks to karate when it felt like it was just like a way to keep people going. And I'm not sure I was learning anything. Are they learning how to take people down? Are they learning how to fall? You know, in BJJ, you learn that different fall. Yeah, they're learning all this stuff.
Well, so sometimes, with boys, they like to play rough. So sometimes my son just wants to push me over. Like when I'm standing up, like I'm sure every parent out there would have the same scenario. The guy, the little boy wants to just push you over and make fun of you. So he's using his double leg takedown technique and grab me, like lower his whole body, squat down just to grab my leg. And I'm like, Bruce, stop that. And he kept doing it.
How old is he?
He's 7.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a bit.
And can he take you down?
Probably.
Okay, so he hasn't taken. You've been able to stuff his takedowns.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good work, Cherry. Are you taking Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm scared.
Okay.
I don't know how to defend myself against my son.
Yeah. Oh my God. No, but I'm having flashbacks because I think Erwin's taking. Is he still taking it or no?
No.
Oh, he's not. He was for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, he's no longer. Okay, so your 2 kids are.
Yeah.
Both kids are.
Yes, and then Erwin practice at home with them.
No, I'm sure he does.
The basic stuff, right? So then he would search certain type of moves to teach the kids as well.
Yeah. I have this vision of Erwin looking up different YouTube videos and finding different moves, like from different different people and trying them on his own kids.
It's called a Gracie Academy or something.
Yeah, that's what it is for sure. He's checking out the Gracie Academy, getting videos and testing them out. Yeah. Okay. If you ever tell me that Erwin tries a double leg takedown on you and you stuff Erwin, that'll be great. So you can tell us that stuff too.
I need a lot more dedicated practice on it.
You know, I just thought you've started your own business. How long? Because you have a family, young children. How many years has it been since you started your business?
I started 2014 October.
2014. So it's been a ride. For anyone starting their own business, we always tell everybody the first 3 years is like just such a blur, and there's no free cash flows. Maybe there's some kind of unicorn companies out there, but there's like no free cash flows. The first 5 years, I'm not trying to speak for you. I don't know your business, but I'm just going on our kind of journey that until about year 5, you barely have enough to pull money out of the business if you're really trying to keep growing it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I remember the first year I told my dad, I'm starting a business, and he, I don't know if I told you this before, he just won a contract. He's 65. He just won a contract with the government in Hong Kong. So he lives in Hong Kong, and he has a contracting business there. And he just won the contract worth about 11 million Canadian dollars. I don't know how he's going to fund that project that size. And I'm just thinking, normally I would be like, I have some backup like line of credit available. And looking at 11 million, there is nothing available. It's beyond me. So he has to figure it out himself.
I think you did mention, what kind of contracting does he do again?
Just renovation and building stuff.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Dad, you're on your own. If
Yeah.
you're listening to this, you're on your own. But how many people, you've grown quite a bit. And so how many people are now working with you?
So some of them,
because how many accountants do you have working with you?
Our team is about the size of 20 team members. During the tax season, we have a bunch of students that work with us as well, like 4 or 5 students additional working with us.
You've done incredibly well, because I just remember talking to you and I think it was 1 or 2 people, and now to hear that many people, that is like just an incredible amount of work. So we can move on, but way to go, Cherry. I understand how much work that is.
It's very scary every time you look at, this is my payroll number every month. Even if I shut the door and don't get a penny, I would still have that payroll.
And how many families are impacted if
Oh,
you
yeah.
were, you have to make that payroll.
Yes.
Okay, let's dive into some, we chatted briefly. I want to ask you some bookkeeping questions for real estate investors or real estate in general, but you brought up the topic of U.S. investing. You're seeing more and more Canadians buy properties in the U.S. It might be you might be seeing more and more Canadians buy properties in the U.S. because you're seeing some people grow portfolios here and they're taking some equity out here and then going and buying some lifestyle properties or rental properties in areas that they think are greener pastures. But what was your take on U.S. investing? What do Canadians need to be aware of? So as a Canadian U.S. real estate investor, what do I need to be aware of when it comes to taxes? Like what needs to be going through my mind?
So a lot of Canadians would go down south and they would meet different professionals. And if they are tax professional specializing just U.S. tax, or lawyers who specialize in setting up corporations for the U.S. citizens, they're very different structure for someone who came from Canada and do not want to move outside of Canada. They would remain as a Canadian resident. So for someone who advise you in the U.S. capacity without looking at the Canadian cross-border tax implication, it could trigger double taxes. So double taxes, you get taxed once in the US, and then any residual money coming back to Canada, you get taxed again in Canada. So you don't want to do that because both countries have high tax rate.
Okay, and so you obviously have seen people do that, set up with U.S. professionals as if they were Americans investing in the U.S. And it's the structure is different. What do you know the structure? Like I've met so few people who know the structure of how that would work for Canadians. Are you aware of that structure?
Yeah.
Okay.
So typically, if you are Canadian and you want to remain as Canadian resident, assuming that you're not going to move to the U.S., because some people want to move to the U.S. So if you are a Canadian resident and what you want to do is that you want to avoid anything with double L. So you don't want anything to do with LLC, LLP. So none of that. So you want something with single L. LP structure is the best. How it works is that essentially you set up a limited partnership. Limited partnership is kind of like a flow-through structure. It allows you to shelter the majority of the risk into a corporation that would absorb the unlimited liability. And that corporation, because it's a corporation, it will absorb all the liability, and it would be, even though it will be owned by you personally, it would still absorb all the liability. And then you want whether you or your corporation to be the limited partner. And so that means you're a passive investment partner into the limited partnership.
So you're a Canadian corporation.
Yes, or you're actually better of investing in your personal name as the limited partner. The tax integration works a lot better. So
why is that?
When you have a Canadian corporation investing in the U.S. as the limited partner, there is something called branch tax, U.S. branch tax, which is 5%. So when you do a 5% branch tax in the U.S., then that is not being integrated into our system. You don't necessarily get any credit on the U.S. On the Canadian side, so you pay it out of pocket, and there is no tax benefit on this side. So then you just naturally pay more tax.
Okay, and then if I'm investing as a Canadian in the U.S., what can I expect my tax rates to be on any income I'm generating from properties in the U.S.?
So it really goes back to obviously how much your rental income is. I think investing in the US is no different than investing in Canada in a way that typically real estate, if you borrow money to invest, there is very little left from the day to day. So you may be looking into breaking even after paying all your debt and everything. So on the rental income side, you typically don't pay anything. Even if you have net income left, the state's tax return require you to take depreciation regardless. So there is really no US side tax that you would be paying.
Depreciation is forced in the US?
Yes, it is required on an annual basis.
Oh,
and then on on the Canadian side, you just report it based on your personal income tax rate. If you invest using your personal name, corporation is based on the corporation name.
So you can flow that income right through to Canada.
Yeah.
You're saying most of the stuff you're seeing, people are doing a break even if they have positive net income somewhere, the depreciation is going to account for that in the US. The income's then reported here in Canada and then just taxed as any other income here in Canada.
Like any other rental.
Any other rental
yeah,
income.
so you can still claim capital cost allowance in Canada, just the same way that you would normally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so where are you seeing people mess up? Because I think you brought up did you bring up the number of 60%?
Yes.
What was that number?
So that 60% is assuming that you are at the highest marginal tax rate. Actually, sometimes 66% is what we've seen, and people would set up a U.S. corporation owning multiple properties.
An LP or one of the bad ones, like you said, with the double?
Just the corporation.
Oh, okay.
It would be something called a C Corp.
Okay.
So we actually went on a call with a client's not tax lawyer, just a lawyer in the States, in Detroit. So he suggested our client to set up a U.S. corporation. And typically, if you set up a U.S. corporation, the U.S. corporation would own all these properties directly. So your Canadian side only owns shares, whether you own the shares, your U.S. Corp shares in your personal name, or you own your Canadian corporation through your Canadian corporation. You have a subsidiary in the U.S. Just because of how tax works, the amount of money that you would draw out from your U.S. Corp is being taxed additionally. And there is no integration. In Canada, there is integration, but here, when there is dividend issue from a foreign corporation and it's being reported in your Canadian side, or it's being reported in your personal tax return, there is no integration. There is additional tax withholding. So then that is the imperfect situation.
Got it. But if they had used an LP,
yes,
then it flows through.
Yeah, it flow through.
Got it. And an LP, why are Americans using these C Corps? So what is the technical difference between a C Corp and an LP?
So C Corp is really a corporation.
Okay.
They also have S Corp, but C Corp is really just like
what we would understand a corporation here in Canada.
Exactly.
Okay.
LP is really just kind of like our limited partnership.
Okay, but it still gives you that liability protection.
Yes.
Okay, got it. And then when you're doing these, because most accountants don't talk this way, so this is great that you are. Are you dealing with Canadian lawyers that know this stuff as well? Because I feel like anyone going through this is going to need to know. No?
So it depends. Sometimes we work with really just our clients' U.S. Partners. So they already kind of, when they venture out to invest, they must have attended some sort of courses. So they would bring their U.S. Professionals in and set up a meeting with us. And we have the conversation and make sure that the structure is correct from a Canadian perspective.
And then you're teaching these American people
sometimes.
What we need as Canadians. Yeah. Okay. So if I go down to Florida and I buy a property that I might use as a lifestyle property for my family, but I might rent out. You're saying I should buy that in an LP.
US LP.
A US LP.
Yes.
And I guess...
And you own it personally because you're using it as a lifestyle property. Now, it goes back to how
So I would own that one personally?
Oh, sorry. Your personal name as... you will personally be the limited partner.
Okay. But here in Canada, I don't really own many things personally anymore. Who would own the LP income that's flowing up from the US?
So that would be you personally.
I would have that one personally because it's a property I might be using personally?
Yes, that's the reason. Yeah.
Okay. If I was just doing it as 100% rental,
yes,
then I could use one of my corps here?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But if I'm only going to do it as a rental sometimes, but I'm going to use it personally, I'm going to be owning that personally here.
Similar to a cottage. If you own a cottage up north, then that's the case too. That's what, otherwise you would have to pay you would have to pay rent to use the property.
Yeah, got it.
Because there's shareholder benefit, and then it gets messy.
Yeah, then it gets messy because now I'm getting a benefit if I have an asset that's owned by my corp, but you're using it personally. That's a benefit under the Canadian tax law. I don't know if I'm explaining this properly, but that's like a benefit. I forget the form that's filled out, but it's this awful form that gets filled out, and I have to report that benefit as personal income.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're saying vacation properties here and in the US, always better just to do it personally because you don't have that beneficial or that what's the wording? I used to get something like that. I think they paid for my cell phone or something.
Standby charge or something, or benefit.
Okay. In the corporate world, I had some things paid for, and I remember I get that awful thing. Okay. So it's the same thing in the U.S.
Now, I'm not saying that you own that property personally. You have two options. One is to directly buy in your personal name, which then you just report it as in the U.S. you report your non-resident return, still tell the government this is what you have earned, and then subtract all your expenses. In Canada side, you do the same thing. You remove the personal portion, same thing. Option number 2 is still through the LP structure that I mentioned earlier. It's just that in that LP structure would provide you with legal liability protection, because the GP Inc., which will become when I say GP Inc., it's a corporation incorporated, and who acts as the general partner, which will absorb all the risk of the limited partnership.
So that's so which structure do I have here in Canada to do that then? Sorry, you lost me on that last part. So I have an LP in the U.S.
Yes.
But then up here, it's my personal name.
Yes.
But what else?
So you are being the limited partner. So you buy the limited partner.
Oh, got it. Yeah, I'm the limited partner of the U.S. LP.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, got it. Yeah. Okay.
It gets complicated.
Okay. Could I do something, if I'm doing that here in Canada, could I still use like some sort of trust agreement somewhere to say the beneficial owner of this property is not me personally and direct? No, I guess that's used differently. That's more a legal thing. Mm-hmm. That's not a tax thing. Mm-hmm. A beneficial owner is more a legal thing where I'm saying, hey, maybe I'm going to be declaring the tax in this corp or in this personal name, but the beneficial owner is actually this person over here for legal purposes and for my estate. Yeah. I'm complicating it. So no, we don't even have to go there.
Yes.
Okay. So the key to all of this is generally, if possible, to be using an LP in the U.S. And you're seeing some people not use an LP, and that's when they're getting taxed directly in the U.S.
Yes. They're using, there could be reasons to use a different structure. But what we just discussed is generally for people who are buying real estate, whether you're doing flips, Airbnb, they're still real estate. That's the recommended structure.
Got it.
Generally. Now, if you are doing business, or you are doing Amazon business, or if you are doing some other things, that's completely separate story, and it may be worthwhile to actually set up a U.S. C Corp. But for investor, that's a different story. The reason is because the Canadian side has something called a FAPI. I think it's called Foreign Asset Property Income something that we have to report essentially. If you own, in Turks and Caicos, you have a Turks and Caicos corporation owning a Turks and Caicos house. There is no income being reported and transferred back to Canada. You're still required to report the income and expenses from that through that corporation. And that's the reason why it gets complicated.
Okay, I can tell it gets complicated, but I appreciate this. So, if you are declaring income, if you have positive net income in the U.S., are you aware of what tax rate you are going to be paying? Let's say you just have this awesome property, and you really do have positive net income. Do you know the tax rates, or is it a different structure? You know how we have just the different marginal kind of rates here?
Yeah.
Is it different there?
Yeah. So we also, depending on whether you are investing in your personal name or in the corporation's name as well, it's different. For personal, it's also based on your marginal tax rate. The withholding tax would be based on the marginal tax rate, but for the corporation side, it's slightly different.
Okay, got it. And then what are you seeing some Canadians do in general? Airbnbs in Florida, maybe? Like what kind of stuff are you seeing?
So we have a long-time client who missed filings multiple years. We chased him.
Okay.
As every time he comes
I thought you were about to share a positive story with me. Hey, listen, we have this one client. He hasn't filed anything in years. Okay.
So he just showed up, and we just had this conversation literally earlier today.
Okay.
And he said, I just sold a property in Detroit. I flipped, and he lost money. 20,000. He lost money in the flip.
Did he think he had made money but just hadn't looked at his numbers closely enough?
No.
No, okay, because I meet a
really-
lot of people like that who think they've made money, then they break everything down. They're like, we actually lost money.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so
So-
he lost money.
Detroit, and then we have another client who is also, I think, a Rockstar member as well.
Okay.
And he just did not tell us that he had this corporation set up and purchased properties in also Detroit and making money.
Really?
Yeah.
What's he doing in Detroit? Just like standard rental properties?
Yeah, straight
Wow.
up rental property. And then we have some clients that are in the process of setting up a structure to purchase in Florida. And I just came back from Orlando, like I mentioned to you earlier, and I made a day to visit fellow real estate investors that I knew that just moved.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I made a day to visit the Harry Potter exhibit at Universal.
That too.
Okay.
I did make a couple of days
Okay.
just to visit the theme park, but I did visit a few real estate investors friends, and they are telling me that they made money already.
And they were just doing straight rentals?
No, just pure capital appreciation.
Oh, got it. Okay. Oh, good for them. So they just bought properties that they've gone up in value. I mean, Florida is like everybody's kind of rushing into Florida.
Yeah, because New Yorkers are going to Florida. California people are going to Florida.
Yeah, all my friends from California, except for one, have now left California. All my ex-software friends, any connections I had there, all except for one, have left. This was the San Francisco area. They're all gone.
Yeah.
They've left.
That's why it pushed up the Florida.
Yeah, Texas, Florida specifically, it seems like they're all going there. So Americans are kind of flooding these areas. Canadians are piling into these areas. We're kind of circling the waters. We've always been focused on here or Europe, and now we're like, hey, maybe one extra property in somewhere like Florida might make sense.
Yeah, it's 2.5 hour flight.
It's a 2.5 hour flight. You're right. It's nice. And we kind of looked around the different areas. We looked around Miami a little bit, Fort Lauderdale a little bit. We really like the West Palm area.
I was just there.
You were just in West Palm?
Yeah.
Were you at Charles Waugh's property?
No. I just visited a friend who is in this gated community,
Okay.
and they bought this property for 2.4 million US.
Oh,
and
must be a beautiful property.
It's a 7,000 square foot mansion.
Yeah. Okay.
And it is now worth 2.7. I was told.
Oh my
they
gosh.
just bought it last year.
These are what the people you're doing with are buying? Oh,
No.
okay.
No,
Very nice,
no,
Cherry.
No, that's like probably like the highest end property I've ever been. My jaw just dropped. Like I'm like, this is country club lifestyle.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
feed you, they give you like there's lots of tennis courts and
What do you mean they feed you? There's like a little community center in the middle where you can go eat with
Yeah.
a pool, that kind of thing?
yeah. Well, you have to pay, but then there's like card rooms, playing cards.
Really?
So a room that's for you to play cards, and there are 5 restaurants there.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're looking more like I kind of trying to find something in Florida that's a little bit European, as crazy as this sounds. It's why I like the downtown West Palm area. It's a tiny little place, only a few blocks, but I just want somewhere where I can kind of walk to an espresso place.
That's
If
awesome.
there's a CrossFit gym, if there's a yoga studio, I'm kind of looking for that. I just, there's part of me that just loves Europe so much where you just don't need a car. You just walk to everywhere. There's restaurants and food and a little bit of fun happening. And I'm trying to kind of secretly recreate that in Florida a little bit. So that's why I was kind of focused on the Miami, because I've been to Naples, and a lot of some really good friends have places in Naples. But you have to get in a car and like kind of drive blocks to go anywhere. And outside of a lot of these communities in Florida, even some of these gated communities, like to get out to just a Starbucks, to walk out of the gated communities like half an hour, it seems like.
Yeah,
and then to
yeah.
walk to the Starbucks is like an hour and a half because these blocks are so big. And that's not me. Like I can't be in one of those communities. I don't golf.
Yep.
Like they're beautiful. Anyone who owns there is
Yeah,
going to be
yeah,
laughing at me, and I'm all for it. If that's your thing, like they're beautiful. I love those places, like to visit. And if someone has one, I'll go to your 7,000 square foot friend's place and have food where people feed me. But what I'm looking for is more a little bit of a different lifestyle. Maybe we're just weird, but that's what I'm kind of looking for. And it's what attracted me to West Palm, the downtown area of West Palm. We haven't bought anything. We're just looking.
Okay, so we don't have to buy anything. We could just use your place.
Yeah, sure. I mean,
When you
yeah, it's
buy
2.5 hours though. We might be using it a lot. You never know. I have this whole theory where I'm trying to build a triangle where I can be somewhere in Canada, somewhere in Croatia, or somewhere in Florida. And then no one really knows where I am at any given time. I'm just somewhere close to this triangle vicinity. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted.
Well, after the tour, she told me to see her property as well, and it's an investment property, 25 unit. It's located in this town called Stewart,
Okay.
which is 25 minutes directly south of West Palm, where she was. So it was facing the water. It's beautiful. It also has this old Florida type of vibe.
Yeah, I know the type exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so you can still walk everywhere, and that neighborhood's nice.
It's a 25 unit. Is it like walk up towns or something? Like
No,
walk
it's
up
like a 3-story building.
a 3-story building with 25 units. All, and this is just a rental property for her.
Yeah, they're redeveloping it, renovating it, and then make it a 20 unit.
Oh, cool. Good for her. And this is and then you have other clients doing this kind of thing, Cherry?
Oh, she's not my client, but just a friend.
Someone you know.
Yeah, but then I do have another client that's looking into doing, maybe not in this scale, like really building a place. So we have a client who's currently in Cape Coral.
Where's that?
It's Fort Myers.
Oh, okay, got it.
So it's just really on the east end.
Yep.
So I saw her as well. She's looking at lots in Cape Coral. And apparently there are 3,000 lots that are backing onto these man-made canal. So still backing onto the water, but it's man-made.
Yep.
And there are 3,000 lots, and some people are building there, building, like buying these lots and just building homes.
It's funny what's happening in Florida. There's a few Canadians that I know. One of my daughter's friends, they just in the middle of COVID or at the end of one of the school years, I don't know if it was 2 years ago or last year, I can't remember. They moved to Florida.
That's what they did.
That's what these people are.
Yeah.
There's just more Canadians leaving Canada. This is weird.
Florida.
It's kind of like Canada's this entryway into North America. Like a lot of people come into North America, land in the Toronto area, do some things here, then look around and then do some extra things somewhere else. I feel like that's happening a lot right now.
Yes,
I mean, maybe a lot. I shouldn't say a lot. I guess we're just hearing some stories, whereas before I heard none. So now I'm hearing some stories, so it might feel like a lot or sound like a lot.
So the funny thing is, it's like, I mean, we service a lot of clients, so it just keeps popping up. Oh, I'm leaving. Oh, I'm moving to Florida. And then there's like a huge tax bill. Or I'm moving to Costa Rica. We have a client that moved to Costa Rica and he wasn't expecting to pay any tax. He's like, I don't have any money. Like, I don't understand why we have to
pay tax in Canada.
Yeah, to leave.
And why? Oh, so he was leaving Canada and
permanently.
I don't know under the tax code what the name of that is, but you pay. What do you have to add up? Departure tax. What is the departure tax? Is that where you add up all the assets under your name and the government's like, okay, give us this much money?
Pretty much, but it's not quite. He doesn't actually need to pay anything as long as he put up some sort of security with the government. So then government has security. They don't have to pay.
Okay, so let's say I wanted to leave Canada. Then what would Canada look? They would look at my businesses, like they would look at my corps, and they would look at anything I own personally.
Yes.
And is there a standard tax rate that's applied against that?
Your marginal tax rate.
So it's my marginal tax rate applied against everything that I own. And you would need a business evaluator to evaluate any businesses.
Yeah.
And then you would get real estate appraisals on any real estate. You would add it all up. And then in that 1 year, you'll pay tax against everything.
Kind of like when you die.
Okay, so like when you die. So then you pay that tax and then you are no longer tied to Canada for tax purposes?
Only for Canadian source income.
Oh, okay. So any other income. So if you have some rental property still here,
yes,
then you're going to pay just on that income. But if I pay this departure tax, I'm done with Canada. I earn income somewhere else. I don't have to report it back to the Canadian government.
But then if you still have like business income, you would still need to report taxes on your Canadian corp per se, because you still own your Canadian corp.
Okay.
But it's just now become non-resident Canadian corp instead of
okay. I get it. Oh my gosh. And then if I didn't want to pay that, I could put up some security.
Yes.
How does that work?
Maybe not with your business, but with your
real
estate. If you don't want to pay the departure tax, you can put up some sort of security, and the government would have the right to your security if you sell the property, and they can go after you for that amount of tax.
So what would be an example of some sort of security?
Your primary residence. Your real estate, essentially.
Any real estate, because I was saying if I'm leaving, I'm going to sell my primary residence. But if I have other rental properties, I can put up those properties as a form of security.
That has to be accepted by the government.
Okay, and by putting these up as a form of security with the government, I'm literally giving the government the legal authority to take these properties from me. Should I not pay a departure tax in the future? Like, what is this security accomplishing?
So you're required, like, let's say you owe the government $100,000,
Okay.
supposedly, and you put up this, you don't have the 100 because you
Yeah.
are not selling the property,
Correct.
right? So
Yes.
you don't have $100,000
Yeah.
to pay. So then you put one of the properties up and say, hey, like, take this, not take this.
Okay, so it's like a lien or a mortgage
A
or
lien, yes.
something against that property. When I do sell it, I'll pay you.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
I can't believe we pay the Canadian government to leave. We make all this money here and we pay tax on it. Then when we spend our money, we pay tax on it. If I invest it, I pay capital gains. And if I leave, I'm taxed on it. Cherry, you're going to be in business for a long time. This is, this is like, holy smokes. When you just think of it that way, I make money, I'm taxed on it. I spend money, I'm taxed. I invest to try to beat inflation. I know there's some benefits in capital gains, but
You still get taxed.
I'm going to be taxed.
And
I'm
then-
taxed when I make. I'm taxed when I spend. I'm taxed when I invest. I'm taxed when I leave, and I'm taxed when I die.
Yes. So there is there's a saying in Chinese. It's called Canada is like it tax everything, 10,000 different ways to tax you.
This is what you say that like your family would say in Hong Kong about Canada.
Well, there's a slang that's called that's funny. It's actually a slang.
But it's about Canada. It's not about life in general.
No, it's just about the
Canadian tax system.
well, kind of. I guess you can use the term for the U.S. as well, because
Okay.
in the U.S. you get taxed on everything. as
Holy
well.
smokes.
U.S. is worse,
Is Hong Kong better?
way better. So
Really?
the personal tax rate, like I'm not a Hong Kong CPA, so I actually don't know it well enough. But Hong Kong tax rate, personal side is 15% flat, 15% flat. You know how like we are escalating?
Yeah,
So it's a
no.
progressive tax system.
That's
There
very
is
clear to me. 15% flat. That sounds amazing.
And then there is no capital gain tax.
Come on.
Yeah.
But is that mainland China as well?
No, I don't know anything
Okay.
related to mainland.
Okay. Is Hong Kong, do you think the tax system is going to change as China kind of changes Hong Kong more and more? Or is this something that you feel people in Hong Kong are fairly secure that that's not changing?
I think they're not going there yet, for sure. Because they have bigger thing to worry about.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But do some family, or from what you see of people in Hong Kong, I'm generalizing here now, some family friends, are they looking to get some money out of Hong Kong because of what China might be doing in the future, or no? Not a big concern.
Well, we got lots of friends who
Yeah.
left Hong Kong already in the last year.
And is that for just a better way of life, or is it for a better way of life and trying to get some capital out of that system?
I think they're generally scared. You already knew kind of the background, right? Like they changed the extradition law, and they changed it to the point that it is
Yeah, that's right. I forgot
retroactive.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so then people are scared, right? Like you don't know when the government the Chinese government is going to flip a switch and go after you. So essentially, you need to keep your mouth shut the whole time.
When you're living, now, I didn't know we were going to talk about this. I apologize. When your family's in Hong Kong, are they aware that they have to keep their mouth shut and that kind of sucks? Or is it just, no, that's the way of life there?
I mean, my family's culture is always like, whatever the law is, we'll just,
Follow it.
yeah, like they don't complain. There's no complaint. That's always my mom. Just live with it and take matters, like take responsibility. And
Be happy with what's going on.
exactly. So, but then my dad is pretty pro-China. So whatever Chinese government came out, like he would just support it.
And the context of his support for China would be that they have a good system and it's in the best interests of all of us to go along with that system.
So I think, I mean, right now I'm a little bit more mature. I've seen the Canadian system. I've seen the US system.
yeah.
A little bit of knowledge of the US. I wouldn't say I'm expert
Sure.
or Canadian as well, because I generally stay out of reading the day-to-day news. And I've also seen how China had developed over the last 10, 15, 20 years. I feel like there is no one size fits all solution.
Yeah.
Like the Chinese way, yes. In the Westerners' eyes, in the Western world, yeah. Like you're taking away all these things. It's always Big Brother watching you and all these things. It sucks, but they get things done. Like you will see a high-speed train being done in like a couple of years. Here, it may take 10 years and it's not moving anywhere.
Maybe
it's
100.
over budget. Yeah. So like there is no one size fits all solution. I mean, there are a lot of people that are still fleeing China to come to the Western world, thinking that the Western world would be better. But then when you're here, everything is so slow. So slow. Like, as an example, maybe not comparing China to Canada, comparing like my Disney experience.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You know, Disney has a lot of people, theme park, so they're always proactively organizing the crowd, making sure that they are lining up and making sure all the ropes are tied.
Yeah. Cleaning the garbages,
Yeah.
everything's organized.
Yeah. So we were always being directed, if the line is too long, being redirected and create a new extended line per se. They're always proactive about it. When I get back to Canada Custom, they have one line for everybody.
Oh my gosh.
And then actually, if you're a Canadian resident, all you need to do, Canadian citizen, all you need is a passport and scan in that gate. Scan the passport. And I think with your fingerprint or maybe no fingerprint, I don't remember.
Yeah.
That's all you need to do, right? You could just let the Canadian to line up directly there. Instead, we have a big, huge lineup, walk 10,000 miles.
Yeah, so we're just not efficient.
Yeah, like, but there is no perfect way. Like, there is lots of things that I admire in Canada.
Like what?
Freedom, like respect. A lot of, I've never really feel being discriminated as a minority. Very rarely. I've been here over 20 years.
That's good.
Yeah. But then in the States, I'm like totally visual minority. I may be the 5%. The whole Disney park.
I never really thought about that.
Yeah. And then in the States.
Especially a city like Toronto. We're very multicultural.
Yeah.
And so you kind of, I feel like at this point, almost anyone from anywhere just kind of fits right in.
Yeah. But not necessarily.
But you didn't feel that in the States?
Oh, well,
in Disney.
I didn't feel anything in Disney, but I totally was the token Asian group. Yes.
Really?
Yes, 100%.
I feel like when I go to Disney, there's a lot of different Asian groups touring through Disney.
Maybe because China right now is
Oh,
closed,
yeah. You're right. I noticed, actually, that is an amazing point because I meant traveling through Europe this year. I felt like there were way less tour groups from China, and it was commented on how that was noticed and making a difference just on the amount of tourists going through different places. Yeah. So good point. That's probably happening.
Yeah, and
anyone traveling from China, I don't know if it was Hong Kong or where, when they were flying back, they were in full white suits. This is this summer, 2022, full white suits and taking extra tests in the airport, where everyone else was walking around with no masks. Unless you were going on a Canadian flight, everybody had to put their mask back on. But when I was in Paris and there's no masks and there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And on the customs note, I have to tell you how crazy Canada got in the COVID era. We landed back last summer of 2021. And it was on our first trip, I think, last summer. We got into the customs hall pretty empty because it was early in the summer. Still not a lot of people were traveling. And there was a freaking sign that said, vaccinated that way, unvaccinated that way. And I just, my jaw dropped because I kind of expected to start seeing stuff like that because I thought we're crazy enough in this country to do something so stupid like that. And when I saw that sign, I took a picture of it, I think for Nick, to just show him, because we were arguing a little bit before saying Canada's going to go in this direction. We're going to start segregating people in this freaking thing. And, that was just like, to me, really upsetting to see a country that I thought would never have such silly things happen, to see that happen. So I'm a little bit, I don't know if it's fearful. I don't know if it's quite fear. I'm not really that scared, but I'm a little bit, I'm not completely optimistic in where some of North America and the West is headed.
Yeah.
It feels like the pendulum's going in this weird way. And But maybe it's just because I'm so used to feeling very free and very independent that to see a little bit of these weird controls come in to me is somewhat disturbing. I think it's disturbing because I didn't like what I saw in the 80s in Yugoslavia, which was, a communist country there. And when the Croatians and the whole war that went out from there, and traveling in there and seeing, people there in the 80s when I would go there, if you would, I'll just say it. I remember singing a Croatian national song in my cousin's car. And when we got out of the car, he said, "Hey, everybody's got to stop singing that song." And when I asked why, I was young. He said, "Well, we don't know who's going to report us because someone else might hear that song and report us to the government, and we can get in trouble." And trouble to me meant going to jail. So, in my back of my mind, I always kind of like, this is crazy. Like, you go to jail for singing a song. And I guess when I extrapolate some of the things I see in Canada, and I know that's a big extrapolation, I'm not trying to say that's around the corner, but I just mean we're going through an era where you say the wrong thing, you're labeled a certain way, you're anti-government if you don't agree with the government. I'm like, what is going on here? So anyway, Cherry, we're way off the topic. I apologize.
Well, I'm still it's still from Hong Kong. Like, from that angle, I could see how, like, at least for me, I would just take that vaccinated, unvaccinated as normal.
Yeah.
I
get
don't
that.
know if that makes
No, I get that.
Hong Kong had
they would
gone
do that
through SARS.
Yeah.
And that's a precaution that people would have. And to me, it's just, that's just part of life, and that's what we have to do to get
normal.
Back to normal.
Yeah. And I can see how you would think that. Yeah. And I can put myself in your shoes and see that. And I guess I just see it as like, are we on a path to somewhere I don't want to go? And it makes me a little bit
valid, very valid too.
And and then I think back to, if I flip this back to the tax code, I just look at the tax code in this country, seems like it's getting bigger and bigger and more complicated. And then I look at places like Croatia right now. As an example, I went to the gym because Nick dragged me to the gym in Croatia because, he has to always go to the gym. And my son was there. He's 20 this year. He wants to go to the gym. I'm like, fine, I'll go to the gym while we're on vacation. And Nick finds a gym 10 minutes away that's really nice, actually. Yep. And I'm like, I've never been here before. I want to get a membership. They give me a blank piece of paper, say, write your name here. I wrote my name on it. They punched it into a computer, gave me a nice little card that opens the electronic thing. I didn't sign a disclaimer that, if I hurt myself, I'm not going to sue them. I just thought, what a nice place. Like, and there, if you do something stupid, it's on you.
Yeah.
It's like, hey man, if you dropped a weight on your foot, we don't need you to sign a piece of paper saying you're not going to sue us. You can't sue us. You're stupid.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. Like, is a certain freedom and lack of regulations, to me, kind of makes everybody independent, and you have to think for yourself and you just have to be smart. Whereas here, I feel like as I see more and more regulation and more growth of the tax code, it's like we're getting to this point where we're going to just have a society that doesn't think for themselves, scared to act. And anyway, I'm
but then I also look at, maybe I got it from my mom, but I've also heard people saying that, they left Canada because of the tax and they left to Panama. And then I've heard story about this guy who left for Panama, but then during the COVID situation, they had no food available at all. So we never had that situation here, right?
The grass isn't always greener.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone who's come to Canada and went back to Hong Kong?
Oh, lots.
Really?
Lots.
They just can't integrate into the society here?
No, it's just they are making a lot. Like, at least my peers, they are making a lot more money over there.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah, they are keeping more as well.
Tax rates lower. Yeah. They're making more. Go back.
And then there's still perceived advantage, because when you speak fluent English, as well as you get a university degree from outside of the country, it's perceived as better educated. Better education. Okay.
Is that a trend that's increasing, do you think? Or it's just back and forth? You're seeing people come from Hong Kong and some people go back?
Yeah. It's just a mixed thing. So when I first graduated here, long time ago, and we all graduated from Waterloo, and all of us would go through the same program because we are accountant. We have to stay in the accounting firm for a certain number of years. I don't even know how you did that. Jeez. And Waterloo, oh my God. That was like impossible. Sorry, go on. Good for you. No, it wasn't as hard as it is today. Anyway, so at least to get in. Once you get in, you just kind of
Yeah.
Pretend that you know.
Still hard.
Yeah. So then when you graduated, you went through the program, and then you get the when you graduated, you went through the program, you get your training, and then people, as soon as they get their license, they take off to wherever.
Yeah, got it. Okay.
A bunch of my friends went to Hong Kong. One of my current partner in my business, she went back to Hong Kong. Her parents are still in Hong Kong, and they just recently moved back because of whatever happened in Hong Kong, and they wanted to get out of that situation. So then I asked her to join me, and she joined me in my business 10 years later. We worked together 15 years ago as co-op students, and then now 10, 15 years later, we're still working together.
And the people that are going back to Hong Kong and, they're making more money, are you comparing that? Is that a corporate job that they're stepping back into in Hong Kong, or starting their own business in Hong Kong as well?
All my peers, they work for either a corporate job or one that is currently in the process of moving back. She worked for CPP.
No way.
The headquarters, the Asia Pacific headquarters is in Hong Kong.
Wow. Seems like a different world to me.
Yep. CPP invests in like Australia, like the whole Asia part too.
Got it. So she's part of their finance division that's putting money in different parts of the world.
She once told me that she took a helicopter ride in Australia and really see which building CPP invest in. So our Canadian money is investing in. It's really cool.
Wow. Holy smokes. Okay, Nick, we started out with U.S. investing in tax rates and corporate structures, and some people investing in Detroit and Florida, and we talked about Florida properties. And Nick's joining us right now. And then we started talking about China and Hong Kong and tax rates and Canada and the customs line. Remember, because we were arguing, saying I was telling you that they're going to divide the customs line to vaccinated and unvaccinated.
Yeah.
And I think you were saying they weren't going to.
Well, it all seemed so outrageous. And I'm like, that.
And then I landed and they did have that sign. They got rid of it like 2 weeks later.
My track record for what the government was going to do during COVID, that whole period, I think I was officially like zero. I got zero things right, because everything I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. I'm not going to do that, and they did it all. So I got zero right. But, so I was not a good track record for that at all.
But Cherry was bringing up interesting points, just because like when you grow up in Hong Kong with the amount of kind of structure that's in place, all of that structure can come off as very normal. Mm-hmm. And it helps speed up development of things. You were bringing up the example of building high-speed trains and stuff like that. Like shit happens in China just because of a lot of the structure. So if you grow up there, it's not really as quote unquote bad as a Westerner might think looking back there. So it's just interesting, because I think growing up here, you're just kind of trained to think, not trained, but it is kind of unconsciously there that like, oh, it's pretty bad there. It must be like pretty awful.
So,
but at a 15% flat tax rate in Hong Kong, things look really fantastic to me.
So recently I read the book, Ray Dalio's book.
Yeah.
I don't remember the name now.
Yeah, I know the book you're talking about.
The World Order, Changing Order. And it puts things into a little bit of perspective for me as well. Like, I mean, I'm here too. I'm also being influenced by North American news channel. Mm-hmm. And he talked about how like China historically hasn't invaded anybody. They're not going around to invade people. Mm-hmm. It's often the Westerner going in to invade them. They are minding their own business, doing all their own stuff, including Taiwan in this mm-hmm. particular situation. And I just thought, oh, right, it is really the Western side saying that, mm-hmm. hey, like you're doing something wrong, you shouldn't do this. And that's why we're attacking you. And I thought that was an interesting insight. Mm-hmm. I mean, growing up, I wasn't really particularly proud of China at all. And so for me to have that insight, mm-hmm. it's interesting. Mm-hmm. It's just seeing both sides rather than just seeing one side.
Agreed.
Mm.
One of
the opinions, I guess, not arguments that I heard about this, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. But it made me think, and I was like, I wonder if that because I have no context. I don't have the context of being over there. Is that the structure, although it can make things efficient in that way, does it limit creativity and the ability for new invention? Mm-hmm. and innovation? Does
I
it
think
limit?
it definitely
Does it limit
it seems
that?
like it does.
You know, and then there's the trade-off, right? Is like, you know, there's, I don't know, you know, my opinion. I've said it before. I think there's good and bad to everything. You know, I really think there's no kind of absolute, like, yes, this is number one. This is the absolute best thing. There's no way to make it better, right?
Well, yeah, if I think of our political leaders in the West right now, you could probably criticize democracy pretty strongly if you just look at what's going on in the world right now.
Well, sure.
We'll
yeah.
Give it another 10 or 20 years. Maybe it corrects itself a little bit here, but I feel like we're out to lunch. Cherry, you have a lot going on. I want to wrap up with a couple of bookkeeping questions, but I know there's an event coming up and stuff that you're doing. What's the latest on your agenda?
Recently, I started listening to a book called 5 Hour School Week.
Okay.
So it's written.
Your kids are going to like that one.
Yeah. Her son tries to do double leg takedowns on her, just by the way.
Yes.
So you know.
Yes. So that 5 Hour School Week was written by this mom who was, I guess, a real estate agent before she became a mom. And then the husband is a big fan of Tim Ferriss' 4 Hour Work Week book. And he actually went around to talk about the 4 Hour Work Week all the time. And essentially it talks about how to do parenting, and you could do the schoolwork and teach the school curriculum in pretty much an hour at home by yourself, as long as the kids focus. I'm not going to do homeschool. I don't have the time to do homeschool, but it gave me some idea in terms of like really introducing my kids to what I do, or financial literacy. So that was something that's interesting. And earlier this summer, we have actually a financial planner who started her own business, came in to teach our kids all day in terms of financial literacy. And they would have to work. It's like a cool game. You would have to work to earn for that month's salary. And the way that she made the kids work, but it's by exercising. So they would do some jumping jack, and they would do some.
Really?
Yeah.
Of course, you and Erwin find this thing. This sounds crazy.
Weren't you guys having kids sell vegetables or something at one point? Like this is a while ago, or
no,
eggs or something? No, that was someone else.
No,
Okay.
that wasn't me. But yes, but then that was one day, right? So they learned to make money, earn money, and they know how to pay tax. And then the teacher kind of just trick them into buying whatever they want the first month, and essentially treat the month as a first round. You get all these free money, buy whatever you want, and then they go to the counter with their fake money. Okay, I'm buying all these things. And one kid in that class bought I think 4 pets, 4 dogs or something. And then she's really happy because she probably just wanted the pet for the longest time. And so she didn't realize that the pet cost $25 every month to maintain. So she bought 4 of them. So by like the 3rd or 4th month, the kid was like, well, can I give back all these pets? Because now I'm losing the game. Because the game is to use your residual money to buy the investment. Whatever investment it was, it's just an investment. And by the 6th round, she's asking if when the pets are going to die.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. She was tired of carrying around this burden. Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Or it's going to make her an animal killer, that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to learn about money, though. Yeah. So.
So it was funny, and then that got my son Bruce into doing burpees for money. So Dan offer our gym owner, my personal trainer, offer him 10 cents a burpee, because Dan could not stand a kid coming to the gym just watching his mom working out, and he's reading a book. So he's like, well, like, you got to do some work. And so to bribe Bruce to do some work.
I mean, reading a book's pretty impressive, actually. But yeah, go on.
Well, Cherry goes early to have the kids there. And sometimes it's both kids, because I've seen them there. I'm just like, holy moly, man, your kids are well behaved, and they're getting up early to just come hang out with you at the gym.
Yes.
And they were doing the burpees?
No, just Bruce. Bruce is purely motivated by money, nothing else. Like, if you give him 10 cents per burpee, he's going to just do the burpees. My mother-in-law, who's driving around, and she's older. She came from Hong Kong. She's visiting from Hong Kong, right? But she's driving my kids around my gigantic Odyssey van. And for someone who doesn't drive all the time, like obviously she's like really nervous.
Yeah,
She's like all alert. And my son, who
Did you just call your mother-in-law a terrible driver?
no, just very anxious behind the wheel. And my son could not stop talking in the back. And my mother-in-law offer him $1 per minute
No.
of silence.
No, $1 per minute.
Of silence.
This
And
is
he could
amazing.
only earn $2 though.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
keep it for
$2 cap.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, good for him.
No, he only kept silence for 2 minutes.
and he made his $2.
Yes.
But back to the homeschooling part. It's funny that you say that because my youngest daughter, when the kids weren't in school, she loved it because she's like, "This is amazing. I can get all." So when there was, I forget which one. I think the first one we had the kids doing some of the remote schooling, and then the other ones we said no, just get off the computer.
Yeah.
And then the second time we're just like, no, you're not doing remote schooling. Like, this is ridiculous. This is like, our opinion was that it just wasn't good for the kids. So, so my wife, who had the time, I realize not everyone's in that situation. So she had the time. She would go through the schoolwork with the kids, and Ava was like, "This is the best. Like, I'm done my schoolwork in a couple hours. I get the rest of the day to whatever I want." She didn't want to go back to school because of that.
Yeah.
She was all for homeschooling,
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
Diana was like just breaking. So she was like, "No, this isn't good." But yeah, it's just interesting the way you see that the kids. Sometimes it's like a lot of the kids can move at a much faster pace than we keep them moving at. You know, it's sometimes it's in some ways it's kind of sad to see, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What? So, Cherry, what? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, with that, we're going to offer that junior wealth hacker workshop, I guess boot camp, whatever you want to call, on a separate day from our wealth hacker conference. So we're hosting the wealth hacker conference going back. We're going to
So, what's the date of the Wealth Hacker Conference and what's going on?
November 12th.
So, November 12th, Wealth Hacker Conference. And what are you? Who's there? What's going on that day?
So we're bringing hopefully 1,500 hardworking Canadians who are trying to learn how to build their wealth together. And we're bringing them to Toronto Congress Center. And we're bringing a lineup of experts in different areas. One of them, his name's Jesse Itzler. He's a very, successful entrepreneur.
This is the guy who hired David Goggins to like follow him
Yes.
around for a day.
Yes.
Is that guy? He
Yeah.
followed him around
30
for a day.
days.
30 days.
Yes.
And then he told David Goggins, for those of you listening who don't know David Goggins, he's basically an animal. This guy was like overweight and then just turned into the most fit person you're ever going to see. He has run ultra marathons, done the most crazy things.
Yes.
And he just does stuff on Instagram that's like all about,
half naked all the time.
Yeah, half naked all the time, saying, "Why don't you work out? You're basically, a zero if you don't work out as much as I do, or you don't have them." He's basically trying to teach mental discipline. I think
And it
discipline.
says stay hard and swears at you.
Yeah, that's right. And so this guy that you're bringing out hired David Goggins to follow him around. And I think in one of the stories I remember, he was in the middle of a boardroom meeting and David Goggins said like, I don't know, do 25 burpees. And the guy was like, right now? He's like, yeah, right now.
Before
The meeting. Before the meeting, and sat down there, did his 25 burpees before the meeting. So this is that guy you're bringing out.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And he's also, he's also found, I guess you call them private card company, jet card company. It's like private jet timeshare company. And he found that company and sold it to Warren Buffett.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
So he's coming out to speak.
Yes.
You guys are going to share some stuff there?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. And so that's on, do you have all the details for this listed somewhere, I guess? Is there a website for someone?
Yes. And you can find all the information at wealthhacker.ca.
Wealthhacker.ca. And what's the thing you're doing with the kids? That's a different day?
So right now we're running a promotion, and for anyone who buy 2 tickets to the family combo, we call them the family combo, then you get to send your kids to this junior wealth hacker workshop at our office at a later day.
Oh, got it. And that's where you're going to do some of the things that you did with your children?
Yes.
In this game playing and financial planning?
Yes.
And make them hate pets and want them to die?
Yeah.
Is that,
No,
that's the end goal? No, that's not
the
okay.
end goal. That's
Okay.
not the end goal.
Just want to be clear, just in case anyone's wondering, like,
Yeah,
you know.
Yes. No.
Yeah, Cherry, you're really like, to watch you for this, I guess this stretch of 8 years now since you started your business, it has been incredible to see you grow your business. This isn't the first Wealth Hacker Conference that you're doing. Now you're doing multiple Wealth Hacker Conferences. You're doing this add-on day for the families and the children. Like, you take on a lot of shit. It's pretty amazing. And Nick and I have seen a lot of people, and a lot of people do a lot of stuff, but a lot of people don't do very much at all. And to see you tackling all this stuff, it's pretty impressive. So, good on you. I mean, you don't need us to tell you good on you. It's been pretty cool to watch. Like, it's a lot of pressure you put on yourself, a lot of responsibility you're putting on yourself to host these kinds of events, to have the payroll that you now have with the amount of people that are working with you. These are big responsibilities, So, way to go on that kind of stuff. Before I let you escape, though, I wanted the latest, your favorite bookkeeping software for real estate investors. Is there one? Is it still just like use Excel spreadsheets, which is my favorite, or use QuickBooks?
I don't think anyone, there's a particular one that I like one over another. I currently use QuickBooks Online just because all my other businesses are on QuickBooks Online. The key is that you would have to understand it. If it is a piece of paper, just adding things up and you understand it, that's more important than having a fancy system, especially if you only own a couple of properties, right?
I think Excel spreadsheets can go really far if
Yes.
you know what you're doing. Things aren't that complicated. So if you're listening to I'm just bringing that up because you also do something else. You teach a class here at Rockstar about bookkeeping strategies. And it's probably the number one thing we get from investors who don't file their taxes for 2 years, 3 years, and then kind of wonder how they're going to report all this stuff. But a pretty simple spreadsheet of capturing things is really all you need. And QuickBooks was like rocket science for me when we first started, and right now it's still rocket science. I don't even touch it. We use QuickBooks Online, and we use a different accounting software for some other stuff. But thanks also for teaching that class here at Rockstar.
You're welcome.
So anyone who wants to reach out to you, what's the best way? I know there's the wealthhacker.ca. It was .ca URL for the Wealth Hacker Conference. Remind me the date again.
November 12th.
The November 12th. And then if they want to reach out to you for accounting help, for your practice, what's the best way to reach you for that?
On my website at RealEstateTaxTips.ca.
RealEstateTaxTips.ca. Yeah, very cool. Nick, you came in late there, so I don't know. Is there anything?
No, I came in. I wanted to be here earlier. There's something that came up that had to do. It involved fitness equipment.
Yeah, yeah.
Couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
Couldn't let the opportunity slip by.
And Nick has his brand new truck outside, Cherry.
Oh,
so wait till you see the brand new truck. Yeah, I'm gonna ask him what his.
I had to use the truck. I mean,
we had to use
lined
the truck.
up.
Yeah, yeah.
It just had to happen.
Yeah, it barely fits in the parking spots out here. So there's this massive truck outside that barely fits in the parking spots. But Cherry, thank you so much for sharing. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. You can find every new episode of the Your Life, Your Term show on all the major streaming platforms. So Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And if you'd like to get free copies of some of the books that we've put together, like these right here, or some of the reports that we've put together, like these right here, you can find all of those at www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's www.rockstarinnercircle.com. That's it for now. Until next time, your life, your terms.